Tesla stock, TSLA, the ticker symbol, sell it. I've been stepping in and selling calls on Tesla stock over the past couple weeks. I haven't stepped in just yet. The market's moving much lower, but I was stepping in selling the 265 calls when we were pushing about 250, 255 with about 1 week out on Tesla stock. Given that there's a bit more competition for Tesla, all stocks are starting to sell off. This isn't a Tesla stock thing, but TSLA stock did move much lower. I'm probably going to pause at this point. I'm going to look for another move higher. There's competition for Tesla. Tesla stock might see a lot more pressure, but the bottom line on Tesla stock is simply this: it is overvalued. So when I see these big spikes up, I always step in and sell those calls. I get those base hits. The stock never really hits those target numbers and those options expire worthless. I'll keep taking those base hits all day long. Regardless, Tesla stock is overbought. It is a historic thing. But a lot of the Tesla diehards are always going to tell you the same thing. It's just going to go up. Except it doesn't. Let's jump in and I'll show you some charts. If you're just finding my channel for the first time, thanks so much for stopping by. Make sure to hit that like and follow button. What I do here, first and foremost, I'm an economist. Secondly, a value investor. I take those principles, what's going on with the economy, I apply it to the stock market, which I look at the stock market as an indicator, and it is reactionary. Given that, as a value investor, I'm constantly breaking down stocks, asking the question, which ones are overvalued, which ones are undervalued. I'll constantly step in and sell those calls on overvalued stocks like I did with Tesla stock, and maybe some puts on some stocks I'd like to own, selling those puts. If I have to take delivery, I have to take delivery. I'm buying on the dip is basically how I look at it. Tesla stock, like all stocks, sold off today. Like all stocks, overbought throughout December. Like all stocks, oversold through October. We saw that big dip, the big rally in all stocks throughout November, December. Now it seems like reality is kind of hitting that the valuations just aren't making sense, and so these stocks have sold off. But Tesla has some other problems. They're now the number 2 delivery company when it comes to EVs. There's a Chinese company that's undercutting them and directly competing with Tesla in China. Europe is next. Tesla's price points, now they're starting to soften their the concerns with some of their margins, but with the competition, this article kind of helps everything out. Tesla stock might see a more realistic move toward its valuation. In the meantime, here's Tesla stock, TSLA, the symbol, 4-hour chart versus the S&P 500. Tesla has sold off a little more than the S&P 500 over the past 2 days since the beginning. And if you look through October, Tesla stock was a little higher, sold off sharply at the latest earnings, has moved higher, but looking to head much lower from there. I look at Tesla stock and I think we'll probably kind of settle back downward where it was back in late October, early November. And I know a lot of diehards don't like hearing that, but there's no value there. People are going to take profits. Plain and simple. Real quick, I'll break through the financials on Tesla stock. Tesla quarterly earnings, slight dip. Projected revenue. Should the economy continue to perform as is and all projected revenues are hit and earnings, Tesla stock is looking at $118 billion for the next year. That's solid. Margins starting to slip. Gross margins sub 20%. Operating margins sub 12%. Net margins sub 12% as well. So on the one hand, we are going to see increasing revenues, and that should help the bottom line with margins. But Tesla stock is probably going to be way down. Its yield is simply too high. Earnings per share over the past several quarters, but it's the future earnings per share that I really want to focus on. 2024 for Tesla stock, $3.95. giving the price to earnings multiple. Now, it really hasn't changed too much since Q3 earnings, price to earnings multiple, but this is extraordinarily high, period. Let's break it down. The U.S. Treasury yield trading about 3.9, 3.9.5. It crossed 4% today. That's the benchmark investment rate, 4%. The S&P 500. Now, I break down with future earnings all of the 500 components, and I asked the question, given future earnings and current price, should an investor buy one share of every single stock in the 500? What would be the yield? 5%. That's not bad. That beats the Treasury yield currently. Tesla stock price, $238.70. 2004 earnings per share projection for Tesla stock, $3.95. Tesla yield, 1.65%. The Treasury gets you almost 4%. The S&P 500, broadly speaking, gets you 5%. Tesla stock being overvalued like it is, more than likely will continue to be pressured lower. People are simply just going to take profits and move onward. And that's probably one of the things that is really going to drive Tesla stock. The pressure from competition, the fact that it's overvalued, you're likely to see a good, 10, 15, 20, 25% drop in Tesla stock should it be valued at a price point that is more in line with the broader stock market. Tesla stock has crossed the broader stock market, both up and down, clearly well above where the broader stock market is. Tesla stock is overvalued by some 20%, and its yield is too low. Investors are going to take profits, move on, look for better investments. Tesla stock will move downward. And should the continued pressure on competition really start to affect the top line on Tesla stock, you can see TSLA stock going sub the broader stock market. The wiser investment right now, maybe the 10-year Treasury yielding almost 4% versus a stock that could easily drop 20%. I've been stepping in, selling calls on this. Anytime it rallies too high, you can follow this all on my website. I have a whole area dedicated to that. I haven't stepped in yet this year. It's only Wednesday. But I will. Should we see another spike higher in Tesla stock, I'll step in and sell those calls. I'll keep earning those base hits, hit after hit after hit. Moneyball. You keep bringing in those base hits, you keep making that money. At the end of the year, you're doing quite well. If you're looking for this kind of content, make sure to hit that like and follow button. I break down the economy. I break down the stock market. From a value investing standpoint, I break down stocks individually, including Tesla stock, the most widely traded stock on the in the markets. Hit that like and follow button. See you in the next video.